And welcome back, everybody, to the Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today's suggestion comes to us today from Power to the 99 and Gamer Forever. That's the question. I've done most of the other Adams so far. What is Fester Adams, Uncle Fester's Pokemon team? Let me center that a bit more. Now, unlike some of the other characters where there's some uniqueness to them, but not enough to make a very coherent team, so I have to kind of branch out a little bit. Fester actually has enough uniqueness to him that I didn't struggle all that hard, except for maybe the last mon, with creating a team for him. So, and forgive me if you hear a pause, I'm taking sips to keep my voice moist. My throat moist, sorry. So, without further ado, let us begin. His starter, his main mon, would be Mega Medicham. Why? Because Wednesday said, it flat out says, I believe it's in the Wednesday series, she learned how to defend herself. She learned how to fight from her Uncle Fester, who spent time in a Tibetan prison. So, give me a fighting type that's kind of monk-ish, or in that vein of that, makes sense to me, and Medicham fits that very well, particularly if you go Meta Medicham. Now, is that a one-to-one? No, but I think that actually works. Because having a Mega on the team makes sense for Fester due to the fact that he cares very much for his family and loves them dearly. So it would make sense that trait falls to his Pokemon as well. So I would start with Mega Medicham. But something that is unique to Fester is his ability to conduct and store static electricity. So an electric type actually needs to be on the team. But what electric type? Well, it needs to be an electric type that specifically is known for storing static electricity. Not straight electricity, but static electricity. And recently, Elekid has been brought up in certain videos I've been watching, and Elekid does use static electricity. I like the fact, too, that his head is a plug, so it reminds you kind of like it's got a body like a light bulb, just a little bit, little round body. And one of the things that Fester is kind of known for is for sticking a light bulb in his mouth and just making it light up. So I like the idea that he would have not a fully evolved mon on his team, but Elekid there to kind of round things out a little bit. Also to tie in with the martial arts, but also to when he turned into an octopus squid thing in the Adam Sandler movie, the animated movie in the second one, I chose Grapploct for that specific reason, because he did at one point turn into an octopus creature. So I went Grapploct on that. Easy, moving on. He's also known for being quite stealthy. Now, stealthy Pokemon are a little bit harder to discern, but it is a trait that some dark types have, being that they hide in the dark. They're very secretive, elusive. I ultimately went with Shiftry on that. Shiftry is known for just kind of running across the trees almost silently sometimes. He's known kind of like as a spirit of the forest a little bit. And I think it just could kind of work that the Adams do have some darkness in them, but it's not like an evil darkness, just darkness. Now, weirdly enough, it's the fifth mon on this list that was the last mon I chose, because his last mon is kind of his other ace. Because, honestly, the last mon on the team makes more sense just because of what it represents for Fester, but beyond that, this one, I think, just represents his loyalty to his family, and just because it's a good boy Pokemon, Arcanine. Add on the fact that fire is, fun, and the Adams do play with it. I could go with fire, and a loyal mon on the team makes sense. But beyond that, though, one of the other things I've noticed in movies and media and all that when it comes to Fester is he has a shocking tolerance for pain. And I don't just mean pain, like damage, too. Like in the movie, we actually see him have an arrow go through his ears and be fine in the animated movie. Or take a axe to the head and just be like, huh, that happened. So I needed a mon that can just take hits and essentially, at least in lore, not really feel damage or pain like a normal person or normal mon would. I ended up with Tyrantrum. It's a mon that I think would actually make sense, even though it's, despite it's not Tyrantrum, Tyranitar. Tyrantrum's a very different Pokemon. Tyranitar. It is known for being a bit of a foul-tempered Pokemon, but they also can be just fine as well. No two mon are the same. Although unlike with Digimon, the traits of their personality do seem to extend a bit more to the Pokemon species than in Digimon. So, with that said, as a representative of his inability to either feel pain or take damage, I chose Tyranitar. And it makes sense to be as his final ace. Medicham is his partner, and when the Megastone definitely is powerful, but with Tyranitar, I keep saying Tyranitar, that is his definitive ace in this scenario. Now, in terms of how balanced this team is, it's actually pretty balanced. It does have a fair few weaknesses across the board, but in terms of type coverage, there's only 4 Mon that share types with other Mon. You have Medicham sharing its type with Grapploct. You have Shiftry sharing its dark type with Tyrantrum. I keep saying Tyranitar. Otherwise, there's no real crossover. And if that team were fully evolved with the Electivire, it'd be a lot more capable than unfortunately it is. As it stands, it has a ×3 weakness to ground with the rock, the earth, with the rock, fire, and electric type. A ×3 weakness to flying with the 2 fighting types, and the grass type. A ×2 strength against, or weakness to fairy with the 2 darks and the 2 fighting types. A ×2 weakness to bug with the 2 dark types, because rock actually doesn't resist bug. A ×2 weakness to fighting with the rock and with the Tyranitar and the Shiftry, and a ×2 weakness to water with the fire and the rock type. But on the other side of the fence, it's got a ×2 strength against water with the grass and the electric type, a ×2 strength against flying with the rock type and the electric type, a ×2 strength against normal with the 2 fighting types, ×3 strength against rock with the grass and the 2 fighting types, ×2 strength against steel with the fire type and the 2 fighting types, a ×4 strength against ice with the only ones not having strength is Elekid and Shiftry, ×2 strength against dark types and the 2 fighting types, ×2 strength against psychic types, the 2 dark types, same with the ghost for those 2 as well, and a ×2 strength against bug with the rock and the fire type. So overall, it's balanced. Its weaknesses and strengths are balanced pretty well. They do, and those actually do even share a bit of overlap with each other. So it's definitely something to big words here, to consider when you make a team. But ultimately, it's not a bad team overall. And in fact, it does get a legit win in one of the regions. And that would be in Kanto. Now, the first gym you would struggle with Kanto in is Erica. And this is not due to the fact that you're actually weak against Erica's gym, but at the point you'd fight Erica, her Pokemon are only in their high 20s, at best low 30s. And unfortunately, at that point, you don't have a fully evolved Pokemon on the team save for Shiftry. And that's just neutral. You still have a Clobberpuss, you still have Elekid. Elekid doesn't evolve on this team, and you don't even have Medicham yet. But you have psychic moves on Meditite, like Confusion, so at least it can help with the poison type mod on the team, like Vileplume, Victory. Actually, most of the mod on the team are both poison and grass, so it'd be difficult, but it wouldn't be impossible. After that, though, the only one you would really struggle with after that, because you'd clean. Once you get to Koga, the level gap is so high that all your Mon would be evolved at that point, so it'd be fine. Sabrina, you got 2 dark types, that shouldn't be a problem. Blaine, you don't have Tyranitar quite at that point, but you have enough to deal with him. Otherwise, you should be fine. Giovanni, you do have Tyranitar 4. Should be no problem. And honestly, none of the Elite Four gives you that much trouble, except for Lance. Lance's team can be problematic because he does have 2 water type Mon on the, actually he has 1 water type Mon on the team. With the Gyarados, which Elekid might be able to handle, but it doesn't have the firepower to take it down completely. Then you also got to deal with the Aerodactyl, which you just don't actually have a good answer for because Elekid's the only thing that really handles flying well on this team. Yes, you had Tyranitar, but even with a rock type move, that's not a guarantee that you're going to be able to take it down because it's part rock as well. And then you got to deal with the 2 Dragonairs and the Dragonite. Unfortunately, this team doesn't deal with dragons very well. It's not like it's god-awful against dragons, and you do have a fully evolved Tyranitar on the team, but it's going to be a tough road. I think you can do it, though, which leads you into the last match with Blue, and honestly, you should be able to beat Blue. You would put, yeah, if you start with Medicham against his Pidgeot, you might need to swap out. Throw an Elekid real quick, get what damage you can, and then throw out Tyrantrum. He'd have to actually switch into his water type on his team. Tyrantrum might be able to beat that water type too, be it a starter or just a Gyarados. Eventually, when Tyranitar goes down, I keep saying Tyranitar, but when Tyranitar goes down, you'd still have 4 Mondays, at least 4 as well. That is when you probably throw in Medicham at that point, depending on what he throws in next. In fact, you might actually want to hold Medicham off till the end after you swap him back in. If you go Shiftry, you will have to deal with either the Fire type or the no, he doesn't have an Electric type on the team. You'll have to deal with either the only one you really have to deal with is the Fire type, actually. So at that point, it might go down, but then you can throw in Grapplock, who he doesn't really have any advantage over. It would be tough and drawn out, but actually you could beat Blue. You can become champion with this team. In Johto, that's going to be a fight from the get, because Meditite doesn't learn, I think, Confusion until level 16 or something like that. Unfortunately, yeah, I mean, it can learn Force Palm, which is nice. The problem is you're going up against a Flying Gym. Even if you lowball the Pidgeotto to the level 9 Pidgeotto that he starts at, which how the hell do you have a level 9 Pidgeotto? I don't know. Even if you do that, it still knows Gust. And if you don't have a move under your belt that's really good, even if you got type disadvantage, you're in trouble. So there's a real shot you don't get past the first gym in Johto. But that being said, if you did, you'd then have to struggle with freaking Bugsy. Now, not as hard, but unfortunately, Bug doesn't resist Psychic, but Psychic's just neutral to Bug, and Psychic's also weak to Bug, but Fighting's neutral to Bug. So Meditite's just kind of there. Elekid, though, can be useful at least for the Scyther, because the Scyther is Flying type. So there is that. Against Whitney, you'll have 2 Fighting types, so she actually should be okay. Then you'll actually have a clean sweep throughout most of the region up until you hit Claire, which you just don't have a good answer for. Because you will not have a fully evolved team at that point. You will not have your Tyranitar, just have a Pupitar, and one that's weak to water at that. Very weak. I mean, Pupitar is cool and all, but still. Now, that being said, you will have Mega Medicham there, so it's not impossible, but still. And then when it comes to the Elite Four, Bruno is actually going to give you a tough challenge because he's a Fighting type specialist with only 1 Onix in later generations. So because of that time 2 weakness with your Dark type and your Rock type there. And now, granted, you have Medicham still, you might be able to manage. But it won't be anywhere near as easy as you think. And then against Lance, that's 3 Dragonites, 1 Charizard, 1 Aerodactyl, and a Gyarados. And you only now finally get Tyranitar. You're not in a good way against Lance here. Even Medicham's Mega Evolution is not going to be able to help you. Unless because I don't believe Medicham naturally learns Ice Punch. You can teach it Ice Punch, but I don't go with top moves. Because if you go with top moves, then any team in any scenario should be able to win, and that's just not fair for this type of video content. So 1 second. In fact, I'm gonna just double check right now on moves, because if the Meditite Medicham line can learn the punch moves on their own without difficulty, I will change my mind and say you actually could beat Johto and become the champion there. But I'm checking that as we speak because I am just not 100% sure. Let's see here. So what are the current list of moves that this thing is capable of learning? Can it naturally... Okay, it cannot naturally learn any of the punching moves. As a matter of fact, its move pool is not that good. It does naturally know Confusion, which is good at least. But it doesn't learn Force Bomb to level 17. Psybeam is decent. Zen Headbutt's decent. High Jump Kick's good. But, I mean, Power Trip, trick is like after level 28. Oh no, okay, no, sorry, I'm looking at the effect. So let's see, acupressure, but it doesn't. Yeah, so apart from reversal and counter, which you have to take a hit from to use, it's not capable of learning any real physical moves that are of any use. Although reversal, well, attack becomes more powerful the less HP the user has. Reversal could be good. Reversal can be good. But yeah, no, you're not being champion of Johto. And unfortunately, after that, it's kind of just a flat no all around. You're not being the champion of Hoenn. You're going to struggle, honestly, pretty early on with Flannery. And again, it has nothing to do with the fact you're relatively weak to her. Although Shiftry is not going to be. The fact that you just aren't fully evolved at that point. You only have a Meditite. You only have Clobblepush. So, unlikely. Even if you could get past her again, then you got to deal with Norman, who you still, because of his levels, don't have him or Grapple Lock at that point. You will have Arcanine at least, so I give it a little pass on that. And then with Winona, you still do not have Medicham, but you did gain Grapple Lock, but that's stupid because it's a... and you only get Pupitar, too. And there's enough kite coverage on that team to wipe out the team, so it's... But again, you still have Arcanine, you still have Psychic moves, you still got Rock moves that could work, and some Electric moves on Elekid. It's not impossible, but it's just, Lysantate, surprisingly, is not a problem, but you're stopped at Wallace. Because Wallace is, unfortunately, not only is he Water type, and he has a Whiscash, which means Elekid's not going to do much. Elekid's going down quick. It's just not a strong enough electric type to do much. You do have Shiftry, which is good, but unfortunately, a couple of those Mon are either Ice with Celio or have Ice Beam like Milotic. So I actually think you stop at Wallace. But if you were to say, could you theoretically beat Steven? I'm adding that now onto the roster of could you beat Steven? Steven being a Steel and Rock trainer predominantly means Mega Medicham does have a solid edge over him with just like Aggron, Lileep. So those guys, but unfortunately then like Skarmory and Metagross counteract that, but that's what someone like Arcanine is for. So actually, and then you got Shiftry to help out with the Claydol. So actually, if you were able to make it, which I don't think you would be, you actually could beat Steven with this team. Then in Sinnoh, believe it or not, you're done at Gardenia. She has 3 Mon. That Rose Raid is no joke, and all you have is a type-resisted Elekid and a halfway decent Meditite who is not even going to be outspeeding the Rose Raid. Yeah, you've got Confusion on your side against the Poison type. Don't forget, there's also a Turtwig and a Cherubi that you have to go against. So, no, I don't think you beat Gardenia. And then, as always, could you even beat Cynthia? Well, your Mega Medicham's no good against the Spirit Tomb because you're Psychic fighting. So you need to switch that thing out for a type Mon that might be able to do something. So honestly, switch out for Tyranitar. It's going to end up taking a hit. It's going to also it's going to resist some dark moves, so you might need to work on it a little bit. Then she's either going to bring out Rose Raid, Gastrodon, or Milotic. She has plenty of answers for that Tyranitar. So that's whatever it is, that Tyranitar is probably going down. My guess is it might be Rose Raid. So then you bring in Arcanine. Arcanine can take care of the Rose Raid, no problem. Problem is, then she brings out Gastrodon, which takes care of the Arcanine, no problem. So then you bring in Shiftry, which takes care of the Gastrodon, no problem. But then she brings out Milotic because it has Ice Beam on it, and therefore I think it outspeeds Shiftry, or the very minimum. So it's taking down that guy, no problem. And then you're kind of effed because, well, now you're not quite effed yet. Elekid isn't going to last against it. Might get a hit in, but then you got Grapple Lock, who frankly won't last. And she still has Lucario and Garchomp against one Mega Medicham. Oh. Lucario is getting a hit in. It's just a guarantee. It's getting a hit in. And Garchomp, you don't, because we're not doing TMs, you don't have a good way to put Garchomp down. So, tooth and nail, it's not impossible, but it's tooth and nail. Unova. In both Black and White 1 and 2, you stop at Berg. because you have a Meditite, Elekid, and Clobbopus at that point against a Bug Gym. 2 fighting and 1 fighting Psychic type and 1 underpowered Electric type against a fully evolved Bug in the Leavanny and one mid stage, I think, with the Whirlipede, or no, with the Dwebble, and I can't remember what the other one is, or single stage, whatever. The point being, no. Could you beat Iris or Alder? Alder is tricky. Your Mega Medicham is no good against half his team because it's a fighting Psychic type. Half his team is Bug, so it's no good against that. It's no good against the Acelgor. You're gonna have to switch into Arcanine. And even then, the Acelgor is definitely getting a hit off before that Arcanine takes it down. After that, though, it's a little bit hard to pinpoint. I think he'd either go Buffalon or Druddigon next. So he probably, and unfortunately, Buffalon outpowers Arcanine a little bit, and Druddigon resists fire. So either way, Arcanine probably goes down while injuring the next Mon. If it's Buffalon, you bring in Grapplock. Grapplock would take down Buffalon, but then he'd probably bring out Excavalier, and that's a problem, Mon. You had nothing on this team that is good, because let me rephrase that. You had something on this team that is good against a Bug Steel type. Its only weakness is fire. Unfortunately, because of the way this would play out, you'd have to go either Tyrantrum or Arcanine. And even then, Tyrantrum actually isn't very good against the Bug Steel type. And Excavalier's got insane physical stats. So you're not a good scenario there. Great, like the best you could hope for is, oh god, no, like Shiftry's useless. Tyrantrum's useless too, like typing wise. Unless like Tyrantrum can at least learn Earthquake, so maybe that can do something. But Bug actually resists ground. If I remember correctly, Bug resists ground. Hold on one second here. Hold on. Type Pokedex up. Hold on. I'm on Cerebi right now, so I'm using this as reference. I'm pretty sure Bug resists ground, so even an Earthquake is just neutral. And I believe his Escavalier has Steel type moves on it, at least one. So, yeah, it's not a good scenario for you, to say the least. And then you still got to deal with Vanillish. Vanillux. Let's see here. Where are we? Gen 5, Bug. Bug. And then we haven't even gotten into his Ace Volcarona yet. Which, yeah, Bug resists ground. So, no bueno. Not good. And let me just get I'm just going to get Alder up here real quick to be sure about it. And straight facts, you're not beating Iris. You're just not. You got just dealing with that Dragon alone is going to be difficult, because even with Mega Meditite or Medicham, with fighting moves, it's a pseudo for a reason. Its stats do outrank yours by quite a bit, even with pure power as the ability. So, unfortunately, it is just, I really don't like when this thing lags. All right, there we go. Elite 4. Let's see here now. Alder, where are you, buddy? Okay, Alder. Yeah. So, yeah, Ironhead. So, Savalier has Ironhead, X-Scissor, Aerial Ace, and Giga Impact. It has something for everything on that team, minus your Arcanine. So, if your Arcanine is done, you're in trouble. And then obviously Buffalon has Earthquake too. No good. No, you're not in a good spot. So honestly, no, you're not beating Alder, and you're not beating Iris. In Kalos, not gonna lie, like straight up, I don't even think you get past Viola. That is sad to say, but it's unfortunate facts. I don't think you're getting past Viola, because she's a Bug-type gym leader with only a level 12 Vivian for her ace. And it has Harden, Infestation, and Tackle. And you still don't have anything really good to respond to it. Meditite's just not good for a team like that early game. And so, yeah, you're done there. Could you beat her champion team? Unfortunately, I don't think you can. You'd have to Mega Medivolve your Medicham. She's got Hawlucha, which she starts with, which no matter what, it's getting a hit in on Medicham. It has X Scissor, which means it's going to be neutral, not resisted to your Medicham because fighting and Psychic. Psychic is weak to Bug. If it's allowed to get a Swords Dance off, it also has Flying Press and Poison Jab. You got a problem when it comes for your Medicham. If by some miracle you are able to beat it, though, which is not impossible, admittedly, you then have to deal with Tyrantrum, which you do have a type advantage thanks to the fighting type and Dragon Nut resisting fighting, as well as the Aurora. So those two actually aren't going to be all that problematic. The Gourgeist, though, is problematic because you don't have a good answer to Ghost. Well, it does have, well, it is Mega Evolved and can hit it with Psychic moves. Don't have a good answer for Ghost. And the Goodra is just going to tank hits, so the Mega Medicham's going down. Then you got to figure out something for the Goodra, which, unfortunately, that Goodra has Muddy Water, Focus Blast, Dragon Pulse, and Fire Blast. Ugh. So Tyranitar is not good because the Muddy Water and the Focus Blast alone are problematic. Neither is Arcanine, and it resists those. So you might as well throw Elekid out there to get what damage you can out. Then Grapple Lock to do what you can, and then just pray you can take the damn thing down. Now, this is probably actually when the Gourgeist comes out. You actually should take down the Gourgeist without too much difficulty, but then you have the Gardevoir. Thunderbolt, Moonblast, Psychic, Shadow Ball, Fairy Psychic, Mega Evolution. You've got no chance here. Because by the time you get to her, or get to that last Mon, you at best, have half your team left. And the Tyranitar is in no position to be trying to take that thing on. The Moonblast alone is going to just cleave that Tyranitar pretty down to size. Yes, Tyranitar can learn Earthquake. Yes, it might be able to do a decent amount. But the problem just comes down to the Mega Evolution gives her a bit more speed, so she's probably outspeeding you at that point. And the stat line is just not going to be in your favor. So, probably not beating Diantha. You're not beating Leon. I think we can all agree on that. Again, starting with Aegislash means that you only have Psychic moves. So, Mega Medicham is going to be problematic, to say the least. And then, obviously, you have Dragon Bolt, which outspeeds Medicham and has Shadow Ball on it. So, and an insane special attack. So, there is that. And then you've got to figure out how to deal with that. Deal with that Dragon Bolt. Now, to be fair, you do have Tyrantrum, which is a Dark type. You don't want to go Shifter because it has Flamethrower, but it has Dragon Breath, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, and Fire Blast. Tyrantrum is one of the few Mon that you actually have a good chance of beating that Dragon Bolt on while taking a lot of damage yourself. And then he'd bring out Haxorus, which you probably could take down the Tyranitar at that point. Then you're dealing with a mix of a Rillaboom, Cinderace, or Inteleon, mixed with either a Palpitoad, a Mr. Rhyme, and I can never remember what the third Mon is, depending on the team. Hold on. Sword and Shield, where are you? What is Leon's? I can never remember, because Leon's team varies depending on which starter you chose, because he takes the starter no one chose. So, where are we? Where are you? Where did you go? All right, Galarian Star Cup. Or Champion Cup. Nope, Champion Cup. I want that. I give them credit, because they do have 4 opponents for the Champion Cup. It basically makes it makes it an Elite Four, more or less, which is actually really, so that is, in essence, your Elite Four. Well, not quite, because there's the semifinals, 2 opponents. Then there is Beatty and Nessa and Nessa and Alistair. Anyway, go away, ads. I hate these things, and now I'm frozen again. God, I really need to maybe get my computer updated, scanned, or whatever, because this I hate this stuff. All right, go away. I don't like ads. All right, so it's either a Mr. Ryan Palpito or a Rhyperior. Yeah. So, assuming that Medicham and your Tyranitar are gone, can you still beat his team? Well, if it's the team with the Rhyperior on there, because that's probably what would be coming out next. That's the order he kind of throws them out in. Maybe you still have Arcanine and a fighting type, so you can take the Rhyperior down, which is good. And then you can take his Rillaboom down, in theory. Then you just got to deal with the Charizard, but that Charizard Gigantamax, and at that point you have no options, so that's no good. Mr. Rhyme, you have a fire type, but you don't, and you have Elekid, but it's not going to do much against the Inteleon, so probably no on there. And then the Palpitoad Sizzletoad is a ground water type. Sorry, yeah, water ground type. So Shiftry works, but then Cinderace comes in and knocks you around. So no, you're not beating Leon. And finally, Paldea, you stop at Katie. This team is no good against bugs early on at all. So that then leaves the question: can you beat Gita? And if you somehow magically got to Gita, let's find out here, shall we? I can't ever remember Gita's full team because I know what her ace should be is Kingambit, but instead it's Glimmora, which is dumb. And then you terrestrialize into rock, losing resistances. Like, why would you do that? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So Gita starts with, I think her Kingambit comes out like third, I think. But I believe she starts out with Epithra. So you just throw out Shiftry or Tyranitar. That'd be fine. Let's say Shiftry. She's got Avalugg and Kingambit, I guess. But she usually throws out, I think, Veluza next. So yeah, that's fine. Then Kingambit comes out. You can just use a fighting type against it. And then Avalugg, use a fire type. And yeah, honestly, her team is not very good. So yeah, if you were hypothetically to get all the way to Gita, you could be champion of Paldea as well, or a champion ranked trainer at any rate. But you wouldn't get there, not even close. So yeah, it's kind of irrelevant. Still, that's the Pokemon team of Uncle Fester. Let me know what you think. Comment down below, and I'll see you for the next one. Later.